Chapter 1, Section 6 does not come from the book, and our goal today is to simplify radicals. First of all, our definition, rational numbers. Rational numbers are numbers that can be written as fractions. Numbers that can be written as fractions. Irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be written as fractions. Numbers that cannot be written as fractions. And we only have two types of irrational numbers. Our two irrational numbers are pi and the square root of a non-perfect square. Square root of 2, square root of 3, square root of 5. And our goal is to simplify these radicals. We're going to start by listing our perfect squares. 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, 196, and 225. And in order to simplify these fractions, we need to find, in order to simplify these radicals, we need to find the biggest perfect square that divides into this. And I would start by dividing that number by 2 and see if that's on there. See if that's on the list. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and that is on the list. So we can rewrite this as the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. And all I did there is I broke that the 8 down into a 4 times 2. And now 4 is a perfect square, so the square root of 4 is 2 square root of 2. And that's our answer in simplest form. Letter B, we have 75. If we do 75 divided by 2, it's not on this list. 75 divided by 3 is 25, which is on that list. So we're going to rewrite the 75 as the square root of 25 times the square root of 3. 25 is a perfect square, so we can take the square root of that. Square root of 25 is 5. And so our answer will be 5 square root of 3. Letter C, square root of 32. Start by dividing by 2. Square root of 32 divided by 2 is 16, which is on this list. Square root of 16 times the square root of 2. One of those is a perfect square. 16 is a perfect square, so we end up with 4 square root of 2. All we did was take the square root of 16 to get that 4. Letter D, 72 divided by 2 is 36. 36 is on the list, so we would write this as the square root of 36 times the square root of 2. The square root of 36 is 6. And our final answer is 6 square root of 2. Letter E, we do 24 divided by 2, we would get 12. And it's not on the list. We do know that we need to be smaller than 12. So we could do 24 divided by 9, it's not on the list. 24 divided by 4, 4 is on that list. So we could rewrite that as 4 times 6. And now since 4 is a perfect square, square root of 4 is 2. And our answer is 2 square root of 6. Letter F, square root of 150. 150 divided by 2 is 75. And I'm going to put a marker right there on my list. We actually need to find the biggest number in this list that divides evenly into 150. 150 divided by 64, 150 divided by 49, 150 divided by 36, 150 divided by 25. And when we do 150 divided by 25, we get a whole number. We get a 6. 25 times 6 is 150. And now the square root of 25 is 5 times the square root of 6. Letter G is the square root of 300. We need to find the biggest perfect square that divides into 300. And if we do 300 divided by 2, we would get 150. So here's kind of a marker in our list. 300 divided by 144, 300 divided by 121, 300 divided by 100. That is your perfect square. So you would rewrite that as the square root of 100 times the square root of 3. And now you can take the square root of 100, and your final answer is 10 square root of 3. Letter H, square root of 125. You need to find the biggest number on that list that divides into 125. We do 125 divided by 2. We get 62.5, which would be right here. So 125 divided by 49, 125 divided by 36, 125 divided by 5 is a whole number, and we would rewrite that as 25 times 5. Square root of 25 is 5, and now your answer is 5 square root of 5. Letter I, we have the square root of 98. 98 divided by 42 is 49, excuse me. That's on that list. So we will have square root of 49 times the square root of 2. Square root of 49 is 7. And so your final answer is 7 square root of 2. Letter J, we do 128 divided by 2. We get 64, which is on this list. So we could rewrite that as the square root of 64 times the square root of 2. Square root of 64 is 8 times the square root of 2. Letter K, square root of 48. If we divide that by 2, we would get 24. That's not on the list. It would be somewhere lower than that. 48 divided by 16 is 3. So we can rewrite that as the square root of 16 times the square root of 3. Square root of 16 is 4. And our final answer is 4 square root of 3. And lastly, letter L, square root of 12. The only perfect square that divides evenly into 12 is 4. Square root of 4 times the square root of 3. We can now take the square root of 4, and our final answer will be 2 square root of 3.